You can improve immensely if you use the Kaizen principle in your training. Here's what we're going to talk about in today's video. What is the Kaizen principle?
John Danaher's take on Kaizen.
I will tell you how I trained judo wrong for many years and how that all changed when I switched to MMA. How I used the Kaizen principle to improve in a very short time in MMA and how you can do it too. We will also discuss the Borg, which are the fictional cybernetic Star Trek race, which is why I put the thumbnail the way I did, which is why I showed John Danaher as one of them. They're connected to Kaizen in a big way, and I will tell you exactly why. And I'm also going to tell you how Kaizen differs from your regular ways of improving yourself. Coming up. Hi, my name is Mark Leichner from MMAcoach.net, where we help coaches, fighters, and enthusiasts reach their full MMA potential. And since we're on the subject of full MMA potential, you will not be able to reach it if you don't use the Kaizen principle. So what is Kaizen exactly? Kaizen is a term that means continuous improvement in Japanese, and this is the process they use in many businesses around the world, especially Japanese businesses, to improve on their to make improvements in their company. So every once in a while there is a Kaizen expert that comes into the company and takes a look at the processes and if anything can be improved. Maybe the manufacturing process can be improved like 2 or 3%. Maybe sales process can be improved 5% or less. And every once in a while when you do it, you make great improvements by making small adjustments. So this is Kaizen, and we're going to talk about how you can use it in your training.
Your Instagram description said living in the spirit of Kaizen, and I was wondering why you have that up there, and is that something you always thought about?
Yes, I'm a huge believer in the idea of small progressive movements towards goals. If you look at the course of an average day that we all go through, every so often, maybe 2 or 3 times in your life, there's one day which changes the direction of your life. But the vast majority of our days are unexceptional. They're just a boring mundane. That's probably a description of 95% of our days. So there's a chance in which you could drift through your life where only about 1 to 5% of your days have any real meaning, and that 95% of your life was a waste of time. And that's a tragedy. So we have to be very set on this idea that we have to maximize the use of all of our days if we're going to amount to anything in life. And that means at the end of every day, there has to be a concerted look on your part. What was the most significant thing that happened to me today, and how will it influence my life tomorrow? And if we can do this, your days become progressive, even if it's just a very small thing. And in most cases, it will be a small thing. It's rare that we have a day where something monumental happens. Most days are not monumental, they're mundane. So on every one of these mundane days, we have to take one small little gem that happens. It may not be very big, something small, and add that to your performance tomorrow. And if we can do this over 10 years, something truly remarkable can happen.
Now that you know what Kaizen is, let me tell you my story and what happened to me. First of all, I have a judo background, and this is the sport where I trained many years in, and unfortunately I made many mistakes. So I'll give you an example. One of the mistakes I made was to not use the training time properly. Meaning, when I came to training, all I concentrated on was to dominate my training partners in sparrings, and they also did that to me. So instead of doing other things, for example, one of the guys that we used to brutalize in training, he was much smarter than us, and he didn't always go for domination, or rarely went for domination. Instead, he was trying out things in sparring, which later he was able to use in combat, in the competitive environment. I was trying to dominate him, throw him, bend him down, and many others, not just him. And many times it worked for me. But he was the youngest national champion ever in our country. He was able to win with spectacular throws just because he allowed himself to try these things out in training, while I was always going for pure domination. And not just me, many of my friends too. So that was wrong, and this is just one of the mistakes I made. And I had many injuries and didn't do so well in competition. When I say didn't do so well, I was third in my country for adults, which in my opinion was not that good. But that all changed when I came into MMA. Armed with so much experience, I decided to take MMA seriously, and I decided to train it differently than I trained judo. So what did I do? First of all, I didn't always go for domination. That's number one. I always tried to improve in every training. This is crucial, and we'll get back to that later. So I tried to improve each and everything I can in training, and didn't always emphasize domination in training in sparring. It's not always about sparring. I was fortunate enough to meet a great MMA expert called August Wallén from Sweden, and I've learned tons from him, but unfortunately I didn't have regular access to him, which wasn't that bad actually, because I used the time I had with him. I was maybe going there for 2 months at a time. I went there for 2 months, then I got back to Serbia and trained with my guys. Then I get back to Sweden for 1 month and go back and train with my guys for many months and so on. Which wasn't so bad, because whatever I learned from him, I wrote down. Keeping a journal is very, very important. It helps a lot because it helps you crystallize everything that you have learned in training. So it doesn't just, so your thoughts don't just disappear. If you write the techniques down, if you write your thoughts down in a journal, it can help you improve a lot. So I'll give you an example what you can do. Go to your training tonight, and whatever happens in training, try to be cognizant of what happened in sparring, what happened in a drill. What could you have done better, for instance, in a double leg drill or in a guard passing drill? Are there any details that you could have improved? Like maybe you could have pushed his knee left or right, or maybe you should have done a better penetration step for the double leg. I don't know, whatever. When you spar someone, try to be as objective as possible, and this is the key. You have to be objective, or as objective as possible. Try and ascertain what was it that you can do better, what was it where you went wrong, or maybe what wasn't so good, but also what was good. It's also important to tell yourself what was good, not just what was bad, but concentrate on improving the things that you can improve. So if you do that every day, if you write down things every day from your training, your thoughts, maybe you sparred that guy, he doesn't suit you well, he always dominates you, but then go a little bit deeper. What exactly is an area where he dominates you at? Maybe it's the ground fighting. Okay, go deeper. What area of ground fighting does he dominate you mostly in? Is it guard passing? Is it top game? Is it bottom game? Okay, let's say it's bottom game. Where exactly in bottom game does he dominate you? Is it open guard? Is it close guard? Does he put on triangles, arm bars? If it's the triangle, then search for the triangle defense. Maybe ask your coach, or if the coach doesn't know, look it up online. And so little by little you will improve, and that guy, for example, the guy that puts you in triangles all the time, will not be able to put you in triangles anymore. Maybe he will just be able to do arm bars or kimuras from now on. But that's a very big improvement. Even though it doesn't seem so, trust me, it's a very big improvement. Next, you work on kimura defenses. Next, you work on armbar defenses. What do you know? In no time, you will not be able to be submitted by him on the bottom, maybe on top. Now you work on other things, and so on. So Kaizen, that's Kaizen basically. Going into small details about what you can improve. And do not underestimate small improvements. Small improvements compound over time into big improvements. And what about the Borg? Why did I put that thumbnail with John Danaher as one? So first of all, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I used to own a Federation passport which was lost somehow, but let's not talk about this with anyone, please. I'm kind of embarrassed. But anyway, Borg are one of the biggest Star Trek villains. They're a semi-cybernetic race that assimilates other races, other planets into their collective. And they're basically villains in Star Trek. But why am I mentioning them? What do they have to do with Kaizen? Everything. You should be Borg. What do they do when they want to enslave a race or assimilate one? The race fights back. Sometimes they get shot with lasers or photon torpedoes, and they take some damage, but very soon they upgrade their shields and they cannot take damage anymore because their shields start working. So they adapt to the danger. And you should be like the Borg. You should adapt. That's pure Kaizen. So you might get caught in triangle once or twice, just like they can get shot once or twice by lasers. Then their shield adapts, meaning your defense adapts. Your defense, you will not be able to get caught by triangles anymore, or whatever it is that's giving you trouble. And one more thing about the Borg, they do that emotionlessly. So they just analyze the situation and emotionlessly improve on their design and their defenses. You should do that too, although it's not easy to take this without emotion, because when somebody taps you out, you're not gonna feel very good, but you should not blow it out of proportion. So just, you can feel bad a little bit, but then ask the person that has submitted you, how did you do that? I used to ask everybody who submitted me, how did they do that? Also, I was literally pestering my coach after every training in Sweden that I have. Oh, can you show me this? Can you show me that? Because he submitted me many, many times and dominated me. So I was very, very hungry for knowledge. And some of you must be wondering, how does Kaizen differ from your regular way of improving in training? Because we all want to improve, and that's everybody's goal, right? Well, there is a difference. When you go to training, usually, most of us, you go through the moves, you do try to execute the technique that your coach says that you should be doing, but are you really going into small details? Are you really keeping a journal after training of what you did in training, what details you should improve, what you should try next training? Yes, that's another thing I wanted to tell you. Not only should you keep a journal of what happened in training and what you should improve, but you should also keep a journal what you should be trying in your next training, what should be the emphasis, what should be your goal in next training. So this is Kaizen. Get into small details. When you identify small details that you should be working on, practice them. Maybe you can come half an hour before training, or 45 minutes, even 15 minutes over time if it will compound. Come with your friend 15 minutes before training or whatever time you have and start drilling. Just drill. You don't have to break a sweat or anything. You could, of course, but start drilling those things. And over time, it will compound and you will improve a lot. The Kaizen principle has helped me so much that I even named my academy Kaizen MMA Academy back when I opened it in 2008. So I wanted to share with you this principle. I think this is one of the most important, maybe even the most important principle in training, but it's not just the training principle. It's a life principle.
It's my belief that it takes around 5 years of full-time training to develop world-class skills in most athletic endeavors. You could extend that into other areas of life. You can become, in the same time it takes you to win an Olympic bronze medal, you could have become an outstanding day trader. So think about it, 5 years is not a long time. That means we all have within us this ability to reinvent ourselves many times in the course of our life. If you start off at 20 years old, there's a lot of opportunities for you to change and adapt over the course of your life.
Training at the highest level, martial arts training, in my opinion, is a metaphor for life. So you should be using Kaizen in your everyday life too. It's not easy, and I'm not saying I always succeed in that, but it's a good principle to adhere to.
Many MMA champions use ground and pound as their go-to strategy. If you want to learn how to do it properly, check out my Total Ground and Pound Blueprint Instructional. The link is in the description.
What do you think about Kaizen? Have you used it in your training? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, like it and share it, and you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you like a more in-depth MMA training, check out my instructionals. My name is Mark Leichner from MMAcoach.net, and I will see you again very soon.